The sky above Arecibo was clear that night. Dr. William Carter rubbed his tired eyes as he watched the data flow across his screen. For 30 years, he had searched the stars for signs that humanity was not alone. Tonight, something was different. "Dr. Carter, you should see this," said Linda Moore, her voice shaking slightly. She pointed to her monitor where a pattern repeated every 12 seconds. William moved closer, his heart beating faster. "Run it through the filters again." The pattern remained. It wasn't random noise or a pulsar. It wasn't anything natural at all. "Get the director on the phone," William said quietly. "We need to verify this with other stations." Within hours, observatories across the globe confirmed the signal. Within days, the world knew. Humanity had received its first message from the stars. The signal contained simple mathematical sequences, then basic language constructs, and finally coordinates. Something was coming to Earth. 90 days later, the visitors arrived. Their ship emerged from nowhere, simply appearing in orbit as if space itself had opened a door. It was beautiful. A massive structure of impossible curves and shimmering surfaces that changed color as it moved. William stood with the gathered scientists and world leaders at the landing site in Nevada. Nobody spoke. What could anyone say at such a moment? The ship lowered a platform to the ground. 3 tall figures walked down toward the waiting humans. They had 4 arms, skin that looked like polished copper, and eyes that seemed to shift between colors. The center figure raised its upper arms. "We greet Earth, newest member of the Galactic Empire. I am Ambassador Zalthura." Its voice was strange, but perfect English. Later, people watching broadcasts in China heard perfect Mandarin. In Russia, perfect Russian. Somehow, they spoke directly to the mind, not the ear. "We have watched your development for some time," Zalthura continued. "Your species has reached the threshold where contact is permitted. We bring gifts of knowledge, technology, and protection." The world celebrated. Wars stopped. Stock markets soared. Religious leaders debated the meaning of alien life. And the empire began sharing its wonders. Cancer was cured in months. Clean energy technology ended power shortages. Smart materials revolutionized construction. Life got better, faster than anyone had imagined possible. But not everyone trusted the empire's generosity. Susan Miller worked at the State Department, assigned to the new Office of Interspecies Relations. While others were dazzled by alien technology, Susan noticed the small details. The careful way the empire representatives avoided certain questions. The technologies they shared freely versus those they kept to themselves. The careful wording of agreements. "They're giving us the fish, not teaching us to fish," she told her colleague John Peters over coffee. "Everything we get is a finished product. When something breaks, only their technicians can fix it." John shrugged. "They're thousands of years ahead of us. Would you teach calculus to kindergartners?" "That's exactly my point," Susan said. "They treat us like children." 5 years passed. Earth became integrated into the empire's trade networks. Humans began visiting other worlds. Empire citizens visited Earth as tourists, fascinated by the quaint new species. Meanwhile, Susan compiled her evidence. The empire had contacted over 300 other species before humans. Always the same pattern, amazing gifts followed by gradual integration. But where were the species that had joined thousands of years ago? Why weren't they running the empire alongside the founding races? When Susan finally gained access to the empire's historical archives, she found her answer. Hidden in the complicated legal language of trade agreements was a pattern. Every species gave up something in exchange for empire membership. Some provided rare minerals. Others served as soldiers. Earth's contribution was never clearly stated, but Susan finally understood what humans were giving away. It was invisible, impossible to measure, yet more valuable than any material resource. The empire was harvesting human creativity itself. Susan spent weeks studying the trade agreements between Earth and the empire. The documents were massive, filled with complex legal language that seemed designed to confuse. But Susan was good at finding patterns. Too good, perhaps, for her own safety. She needed help from someone who understood data. Paul Jackson worked in the basement of the State Department, analyzing trade statistics. He wasn't important enough to be noticed by the Empire representatives. "I need you to look for something odd," Susan told him, closing his office door. "Compare innovation rates before and after Empire contact." Paul was skeptical, but agreed to help. 3 days later, his face was pale when Susan visited again. "You were right," he whispered. "Patent applications are down 40%. Scientific papers are down 37%. New music, art, literature, all dropping. But here's the weird part. Nobody has noticed." Susan nodded. The Empire's gifts made life easier. Why create when everything is provided? Together, they dug deeper. Paul found energy patterns around Empire devices that matched brainwave frequencies. Susan discovered references in Empire literature to neural harmonics, technology that could sync with thought patterns. "They're not stealing our ideas," Susan realized. "They're harvesting our creativity itself, the potential for ideas before they even form." The Empire's gift devices, the entertainment systems, the communication tools, all contain tiny emitters. They didn't control minds. They did something more subtle. They siphoned off creative energy before it could be used. Susan and Paul prepared their report carefully. They gathered evidence, created charts, and documented everything. Then they presented their findings to the International Council on Empire Relations. Ambassador Zal Thura attended the meeting. His copper skin seemed to darken as Susan spoke. When she finished, he stood slowly. "These accusations are concerning," he said, his voice smooth and reasonable, "but they reflect a primitive misunderstanding of advanced technology. Perhaps Ms. Miller has been working too hard." The human officials looked uncomfortable. They asked technical questions that Susan couldn't answer. "The neural harmonics are beyond current human science," Zal Thura explained. "They help your minds connect to our information networks. They cannot steal thoughts, as Ms. Miller suggests." The council thanked Susan for her concerns but took no action. The next day, newspapers ran stories questioning her mental health. Former colleagues avoided her. Her security clearance was reviewed. But not everyone ignored her warning. George Wilson was a NASA engineer who had helped reverse engineer some Empire technology. He read Susan's leaked report and recognized the patterns she described. In his garage workshop, he built a simple device that blocked the neural harmonic frequencies. The first time he turned it on, he felt strange, like waking from a dream he hadn't known he was having. Ideas flooded his mind. He sketched designs all night, solving problems that had stumped him for months. George made more blockers and shared them with trusted friends. Each person reported the same experience: clarity, energy, creative surges. Meanwhile, the Empire noticed something was wrong. Innovation rates were dropping everywhere except in certain areas. High Chancellor Vex Moore, visiting from the Empire capital, ordered increased power to the neural harvesters. Across Earth, people complained of headaches. They felt tired, foggy-headed. Doctors prescribed medications. Empire medical advisors suggested new treatments using Empire technology, which only made the symptoms worse. Susan lost her job at the State Department. She moved to a small apartment and kept a low profile. One evening, there was a knock at her door. A tall man stood outside. "My name is George Wilson," he said, holding out a small metal device. "I think you were right, and I think I found a way to fight back." Susan looked at the device, then at George's clear, focused eyes. "Come in," she said. "We have work to do." George's apartment became the center of a growing movement. Every night, more people arrived. Engineers, doctors, artists, all wearing his protective devices. They called themselves the Awakened. "The blockers only work within 30 feet, George explained to Susan. "We need to make them stronger." Susan introduced him to Paul Jackson, who brought data showing where the Empire's neural harvesters were strongest. Together, they improved the design. Meanwhile, regular people suffered. The Empire increased the harvesting power, causing widespread health problems. Hospitals filled with patients complaining of migraines and mental fog. Creativity worldwide hit record lows. Art became simple copies of Empire styles. Music lost its heart. New ideas were rare and quickly forgotten. The Awakened grew careful. They met in basements with special shielding. They communicated using old technology that the Empire ignored. They built a network of people who could think freely. Kate Martinez, a doctor who joined the group, discovered something important. The Empire's harvesting doesn't just take creativity, she said. It redirects it. Our ideas don't disappear, they go to them. This explained why the Empire had advanced so quickly over thousands of years. They didn't create. They collected the creative power of entire species. Earth was just their newest farm. High Chancellor Vexmore noticed problems. Reports showed innovation rates dropping faster than expected. Human creativity should have lasted centuries, but the harvest was failing after only 5 years. Find the problem. Vexmore ordered Ambassador Zalthura. Humans are too valuable to waste. The Empire's agents searched for unusual patterns. They found dead zones, places where their sensors couldn't detect thought patterns. They began watching people who entered these areas. One night, Empire security forces raided George's apartment, but they found nothing. The group had moved its operations days before, warned by a sympathetic worker in the Empire's embassy. The Awakened relocated to an abandoned military base in the mountains. More people joined every day. Scientists, engineers, and creators of all kinds who sensed something was wrong with the world. Under the protection of the blockers, they worked together with clear minds. Their progress was amazing. Free from the Empire's influence, human creativity exploded. They developed technologies that worked differently than the Empire's gifts. Instead of taking from the user, these technologies enhanced natural abilities. Lisa Brown joined the group. She had been a military planner before the Empire came. "We need to think bigger," she told them. "The Empire controls Earth through the orbital stations. As long as they're up there, we're trapped." The group began building spacecraft unlike anything seen before. They worked in secret, using materials the Empire didn't track. Their designs didn't follow Empire physics. The ships were smaller, faster, and could travel in ways the Empire wouldn't expect. High Chancellor Vexmore grew worried as reports of missing resources and people reached him. "The humans are hiding something," he told the Empire Council. "We may need to increase our presence." More Empire ships arrived in Earth orbit. Officials explained they were there for protection. But the Awakened saw the truth. They were there to control. When Empire forces began arresting people suspected of resistance, the Awakened knew time was running out. Their underground network spread the word, "Get ready to move." In a secret facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, Lisa stood before their first completed ship. It was beautiful, sleek, and unlike anything humans had built before. "We call it the Defiance," she told the gathered engineers. "And it's just the beginning." Outside, the Empire's ships filled the sky. They didn't know that below ground, humanity was about to change everything. The Defiance proved that humans could build better ships than the Empire. It was smaller but faster, using new principles of physics that the Empire had never discovered. Soon, the Awakened had 5 more ships hidden in bases across Earth. Lisa Brown gathered the leaders of the resistance. "We need to expand beyond Earth," she said. "As long as we're here, we're vulnerable." They chose Mars and Europa, Jupiter's moon, for their first bases. Small teams traveled secretly, using the new ships that could avoid Empire detection. They built underground facilities and installed the improved blockers that now protected areas miles wide from the Empire's mind-draining technology. The resistance called themselves the Prometheus Collective now. Just like Prometheus, who stole fire from the gods, they were taking back human creativity from the Empire. On Mars, they developed new technologies at amazing speeds, freed from the Empire's drain. Human innovation reached levels never seen before. They created energy systems, food production, and medicine that worked better than anything the Empire offered. Most impressive was their new FTL drive, faster than light travel that didn't use the Empire's restricted jump points. The Empire controlled all travel between stars through special pathways. But humans found a different way to move through space, one the Empire didn't know was possible. Back on Earth, people suffered more. The Empire increased harvesting as they detected less creative energy than expected. People grew sicker, more tired. Art and music nearly stopped. Schools struggled as children couldn't focus or learn. High Chancellor Vexmore knew something was wrong. Empire sensors detected energy signatures they couldn't explain. Their satellites found unusual heat patterns on Mars and Europa. When they sent ships to investigate, they found nothing. The bases were too well hidden. Then a worker at the Empire's main Earth facility made a mistake. He mentioned the Resistance during a routine scan. Empire security arrested him immediately. Under questioning, he revealed locations of several Prometheus safe houses. Empire forces raided these locations. They captured people, equipment, and most importantly, data. They learned about the Mars and Europa bases. They discovered the new FTL drive. They realized humans had broken free from their control. Vexmore was furious. The Empire had never faced such resistance before. Other species had fought when they discovered the truth, but none had advanced so quickly or hidden so successfully. The Empire gathered a massive fleet. Over 100 warships positioned themselves around Earth. Vexmore sent a message to all governments. We have detected dangerous unauthorized research. For your protection, we must secure all technology development. Any independent research will be considered hostile. Surrender all non-Empire technology and those responsible for creating it. World leaders, dependent on Empire support and afraid of their weapons, agreed quickly. They turned against the Prometheus Collective, calling them terrorists and threats to Earth's relationship with the Empire. Armies searched for resistance members. Police raided suspected meeting places. Former friends became informants. The Prometheus network on Earth began to collapse. Lisa received the news at the Mars base. The collective's leaders met in emergency session. We can't win a direct fight, an engineer named Ben said. The Empire has too many ships. We could hide deeper in the solar system, a scientist suggested. Lisa looked at the star maps on the wall. No, she said. There's another option. She pointed beyond the solar system. We leave. The room grew quiet. You mean abandon Earth? Someone asked. Not forever, Lisa said. But yes, we take everyone we can. We build a new home beyond their reach. We grow stronger. And then, when we're ready, we return. It seemed impossible, but the new FTL drive made it possible to travel farther than the Empire could follow. And the Prometheus Collective had already built more ships than anyone knew. Lisa stood. Tell all our people. Operation Exodus begins now. Operation Exodus moved faster than anyone thought possible. The Prometheus Collective had been building ships in secret for years, more than even their own members knew about. Hidden factories on asteroids and inside hollowed-out moons had created a fleet large enough to carry millions. Lisa Brown coordinated everything from Mars base. We need to move in stages, she told her lieutenants. First the outer colonies, then Mars, then Earth. We have 3 months before the Empire finds our main shipyards. On Earth, the resistance went underground. They spread the word quietly. Be ready to leave. Bring only what you can carry. Tell only those you completely trust. Many didn't believe it. Leave Earth. Go where? But as the Empire's control tightened and more people got sick from the increased neural harvesting, the message spread quickly. The Empire sensed something was happening. Their sensors detected unusual movement in the outer solar system. Vexmore ordered more patrols, more monitoring. He suspected the humans were planning an attack. Their military capabilities are primitive, he assured the Empire Council. We can crush any resistance easily. But the Prometheus Collective wasn't building weapons. They were building homes, giant self-sustaining ships designed for long-term space travel. Each could support thousands of people indefinitely. They had gardens, schools, factories, and energy systems that would work far from any star. The day came sooner than planned. Empire forces discovered one of the main shipyards hidden in the Kuiper Belt. Lissa ordered the timetable moved up. We go now, she announced to all Prometheus bases. Send the signal. Across Earth, people received the message through old radios, paper notes, and coded internet posts. Tonight. As darkness fell across each continent, people silently left their homes. They traveled to meeting points, abandoned buildings, remote fields, unused subway tunnels. There, Prometheus ships waited, hidden by new cloaking technology. Family by family, neighborhood by neighborhood, almost 2 billion humans simply disappeared. They took their creativity, their dreams, their potential, everything the Empire valued most. The night became known as the Quiet Night. By morning, cities stood half empty. Workplaces opened with no workers. Schools had no students or teachers. The Empire was confused, then alarmed. Their sensors hadn't detected mass movement. There had been no ships, no transports. Humans had vanished without a trace. Empire forces stormed resistance locations they had been watching. They found empty rooms. They searched Prometheus bases on Mars and Europa, also empty with all equipment gone or destroyed. Vexmore couldn't understand it. No species had ever done this before. The Empire always maintained control through superior force. Humans should have fought, or surrendered, or tried to negotiate. Instead, they had simply left. In the central control room of the Empire's Earth headquarters, Zalthura found a small metal device on the main console. It was a simple data storage unit. He played the message inside. Lisa Brown's face appeared. To the Galactic Empire, we decline your version of coexistence. Humanity is not your resource to harvest. We will not fight you. We will not become you. We choose a different path. We walk away. The message ended. No threats, no demands, no indication of where they had gone. Vexmore stared at the empty screen, feeling something the Empire rarely experienced: uncertainty. Far beyond the edge of the solar system, the human fleet gathered. Over 5,000 ships, carrying the hopes and dreams of billions. Their new FTL drives spun up, creating ripples in space that the Empire's technology couldn't detect. On the lead ship, Lisa looked at the view screen showing Earth one last time. "Take us out," she said quietly. The ships vanished into the darkness between stars, leaving behind an empire that would soon discover just how much it had depended on what it had lost. 10 years passed since humanity's departure. The Empire tried to hide what happened. They told other species that humans had suffered a plague and needed to be quarantined. Few believed the story, but none dared question the Empire openly. Within the Empire, things were falling apart. Without humanity's harvested creativity, progress stopped. Worse, old systems began to fail. The Empire had grown used to constant innovation, fixing problems and creating improvements. Now, that source was gone. Zalthura, now promoted to Supreme Counselor after Vexmore was removed for failure, faced the Empire Council with bad news. "The stabilizers for the central jump gate network are degrading," he reported. "Our engineers cannot find the solution. We estimate 3 years before major pathways become unsafe." The council members shifted uncomfortably. The jump gates connected the 1,000 worlds of the Empire. Without them, the Empire would fragment. "What about the Kaltorians?" asked an elder council member. "Their species showed promise." Zalthura shook his head. "We increased harvesting on their world. They have little creativity left to give. And they've grown suspicious." This was the Empire's dark secret. Every species they absorbed provided creativity for a time, but the harvesting eventually drained them completely. What remained were hollow shells of once vibrant civilizations, capable only of following instructions. The Empire had survived for thousands of years by finding new species before the old ones burned out, but none had ever been as productive as humans, and none had ever escaped. The Empire tried desperately to find humanity's fleet. They sent scouts beyond their known territory. They offered rewards for information, but the human ships had vanished completely, using travel methods the Empire couldn't track. Meanwhile, other problems grew. Border worlds reported increased attacks from outside forces. Young species that had recently joined the Empire began questioning their arrangements. Several outer worlds stopped sending required resources to the central planets. In the Kelteri system, a mid-level Empire administrator named Lothnar made a discovery. While reviewing old files, he found records of a species called the Drenthi. 4,000 years ago, they too had disappeared rather than fight the Empire. The records were marked as restricted and scheduled for deletion. Lothnar searched deeper. He found more cases. At least 7 species over the Empire's long history had chosen to leave rather than submit. All records of them had been hidden or destroyed. And there was something else. Reports from worlds near where these species had vanished showed strange energy patterns decades after their disappearance. The same pattern appeared in different locations across thousands of years. The Empire's scientists had never determined the cause. Lothnar recognized the pattern. It matched unusual readings recently detected at the edge of Empire space, in the direction humanity had gone. When he reported his findings, Lothnar was removed from his position. The Empire didn't want this knowledge spreading. But it was too late. The idea had taken hold among those who heard it. The disappeared species might still exist somewhere, and they might be connected. As the Empire weakened, more worlds declared independence. The Empire responded with military force, but they couldn't be everywhere at once. Their territory shrank by nearly 40% in just 5 years. Rebellions broke out on harvested worlds as the natives realized what had been done to them. Though their creativity was largely gone, their anger remained. The Empire diverted more resources to controlling these uprisings. On the central world of the Empire, Zalthura stood at the window of his palace, watching repair droids trying to fix yet another failing system. Power outages had become common. Food production was declining. The glorious Empire was crumbling from within. That night, as if from nowhere, a signal appeared on all Empire communication channels. It came from a direction no one expected, from the place where humanity had disappeared a decade before. 25 years had passed since the quiet night. Beyond the Empire's shrinking borders, humanity had flourished. Their fleet had traveled for 3 years before finding suitable planets in a star cluster the Empire had never reached. They named their new home system Haven. The planets there became centers of incredible growth and innovation. Without the Empire's neural drains, human creativity exploded. Technology advanced at rates never seen before. The generation ships transformed into cities. New ships were built, faster and more advanced. Colonies spread to nearby star systems. The colonies united under the banner of the Free Human Confederation. Their council met on Haven Prime, the first world they settled. President Alan Hayes led the government, but decisions required agreement from representatives of all colonies. Life in the Confederation was different from Earth before the Empire. Technology served people rather than controlling them. Art, music, and literature thrived. Education focused on creativity and independent thinking. Everyone contributed their ideas to the common good. Meanwhile, they kept watching the Empire. Stealth probes monitored communications and movements. They learned about the Empire's decline. They discovered other species who had escaped the Empire over thousands of years. Contact with these other free species was careful at first, then grew into alliances. The Drenthi, who had escaped 4,000 years ago, had built their own thriving civilization. The Linteri had left just 300 years before humans. 6 other species had made similar escapes throughout history. Together, these free alliances shared technology and culture. They created a network that grew stronger each year, hidden from the Empire's awareness. On Haven Prime, the Confederation Council debated their responsibility toward species still trapped in the Empire. Some wanted to leave them to their fate. Others argued for rescue missions to help those who wanted to escape. "We should do more," said Susan Miller, now elderly but still respected. "We know what it's like to be harvested. We can't ignore those still suffering." The debate continued until news arrived from the long-range sensors. The Empire was collapsing faster than expected. The central jump gate network was failing. Several core worlds had lost power completely. Civil war had broken out in 3 sectors. President Hayes called an emergency session. "The moment has come sooner than we planned," he told the council. "We must decide now. Do we return? Do we help? Or do we stay hidden and safe?" After 3 days of debate, the vote was unanimous. They would return, not as conquerors, but as liberators. The Confederation prepared its response. They gathered their most advanced ships. They created packages of technology that could quickly repair the Empire's failing systems. But each package had one feature the Empire would never expect. They were designed to disable the neural harvesters permanently. From Haven Prime, they sent the signal, a detailed message that appeared simultaneously on every Empire communication system. It contained complete solutions to their failing jump gates, power systems, and food production. And it offered a choice: liberation of all harvested worlds in exchange for help. In the Imperial Palace, Zalthura read the message with disbelief. Humans had not only survived, they had thrived beyond imagination. Their technology now far exceeded the Empire's. The scans attached to the message showed a fleet larger and more powerful than anything the Empire could gather. More shocking was the discovery that humans had found and allied with other escaped species, civilizations the Empire had hidden from history. Together, they formed a force the weakened Empire couldn't hope to resist. Zalthura called the council together. "We have no choice," he said, showing them the human message. "We accept their terms, or we collapse entirely." An elder member spoke softly. "Perhaps this was always meant to be. We took from others instead of creating ourselves. Now we face the consequences." As the council debated, more signals arrived from across Empire space. On dozens of worlds, the neural harvesters had suddenly stopped working. Harvested species were waking up, their minds clearing for the first time in generations. The revolution had already begun. The Empire surrendered faster than anyone expected. With systems failing everywhere and rebellions on dozens of worlds, they had no choice. The Council voted to accept all human terms, though some members did so only because they saw no alternative. 1 month later, the human fleet arrived in Empire space. It was a sight no one had seen before. Ships of designs the Empire couldn't understand, moving in ways their science said was impossible. Leading them was the Freedom, the largest vessel ever built by human hands. On board the Freedom, President Hayes prepared to meet with Empire leaders. Dr. William Carter stood beside him, now very old but determined to see this moment. "I never thought we'd return," William said, watching the Empire capital world grow larger on the view screen. "When I first detected their signal all those years ago, I never imagined this outcome." Hayes nodded. "They expected us to either submit or fight. They never considered we might simply leave and grow stronger elsewhere." The meeting took place in the Imperial Palace. Zalthura welcomed the human delegation with formal politeness that couldn't hide his unease. Many other species were present, both Empire officials and representatives from worlds that had begun to break free. "We accept your terms," Zalthura stated. "The neural harvesters will be dismantled on all worlds. All species may choose their own future, either within a reformed empire or as independent worlds." "We have already disabled the harvesters," Hayes responded. "They can never be activated again. But we offer more than freedom. We offer partnership, not as rulers and subjects, but as equals." The transition began immediately. Human engineers helped repair failing systems. Medical teams treated those suffering from harvester withdrawal. The Free Human Confederation shared technology freely, but always with safeguards against misuse. Most importantly, they brought hope. Species that had been harvested for generations began to recover. Slowly at first, then faster, creativity returned to worlds where it had been absent for centuries. Some empire worlds chose independence. Others formed new alliances. A few requested to join the Human Confederation, which had now expanded to include other formerly harvested species. What remained of the empire transformed into something new. A true galactic federation where all members had equal standing. Zalthura worked alongside Hayes to create a system without exploitation, perhaps seeking redemption for the old empire's sins. 1 year after the humans returned, a ceremony marked the official end of the empire and the beginning of the Federation. Representatives from over 500 worlds gathered on a neutral planet. The former imperial palace had been converted into a center for art and learning. William Carter, now using a hovering chair to move around, found himself next to Zalthura during the celebrations. "I have wondered something for many years," William said. "Did you know what your devices were doing to us?" Zalthura was quiet for a moment. "I was born into the Empire system. I never questioned it. But when you left, when I saw what happened after, yes, I understood, and I regretted." William nodded. "The past cannot be changed, but the future is unwritten." Across the galaxy, a renaissance began. With neural harvesters gone, countless minds awakened to their full potential. Art, science, and philosophy flourished. Worlds that had been stagnant for millennia produced new ideas, new visions. The stars themselves seemed brighter. On a hill overlooking the new Federation Council building, Susan Miller sat with Lisa Brown, both now elders of humanity. They watched ships from 100 worlds moving through the evening sky. "We did the right thing by coming back," Susan said. Lisa nodded. "Walking away gave us strength. Returning gave us purpose." Below them, young people from dozens of species played games, created art, and shared stories together. None of them would ever know the dull fog of harvested minds. They would grow up in a galaxy where creativity was celebrated, not stolen. The universe had changed because humanity had made a choice no one expected. They had walked away when threatened, grown stronger in exile, and returned not for revenge, but renewal. And the stars welcomed them home.